Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to the Schaefer Small Engine Shop and Two-Car Garage. Today's victim is my own Echo HC 1500 hedge clipper. I love Echo equipment. I've got a bunch of it. I think it's some of the best stuff made. It's easy to work on, and this, prior to the last couple of days, had been a pretty good hedge clipper. But I've been working on it, and I'll bring you in a little closer and tell you the backstory on it. My friend Rod gave me this trimmer because it was hard to start, and he wanted a steel, and he went and bought a steel and gave me this, and I brought it home, and after an hour of having it home, I got it started and it was running fine. I had to fool with the carburetor on it, of course. Check the fuel lines, etc. But I got it running. That was 2020 maybe, and I've had the thing ever since. Well, in probably early 2023, maybe January of this year, I had it out and was fooling with it, and it would not start. I could not get it to start. And it was always somewhat of a challenge to start, but I couldn't get it to start. So I started taking it apart, trying to figure out what in the world was wrong with it. And I concluded that it had no spark, and I wasn't sure it didn't have a crankcase leak. So I had to do some more work on it, and I'll move it aside and show you what I ended up doing. Well, I worked on all the usual subjects. Pull the carburetor off of it, which was a new carburetor, maybe a year old, and it seemed okay. I had trouble with the ignition on it, with the coil, and I had this coil marked bad, no spark, and I wanted to see if it had any kind of an air leak in it, and the logical source is over here on this side, on the flywheel side. So I started to pull the flywheel, and I took off the little starter pawl here, and the flywheel, of course, fits on here like this. I wasn't exactly sure how the flywheel stayed on here, but I wanted it off to check it for leaks, and I couldn't get it off. And I mean, I beat on it. I beat on the shaft itself with a brass hammer, and I screwed the starter pawl attachment back on it so I could beat on it down in here, prising, pulling up on the flywheel, soaking the crankshaft there with WD-40 penetrating oil. Well, I can tell you, I made no progress whatsoever. But what I did accomplish was to ruin the crankshaft. The crankshaft here was all mushroomed out, and I actually put a tap on it and tried to re-tap it, and put this back on it, and it kind of fit loosely, and I could not get the flywheel off of it. And with a ruined crankshaft here, I couldn't start it. These threads wouldn't hold. They still won't hold. So I couldn't pull it with a rope. I could not spin it with an electric drill because this just spun around on the crankshaft. So I did the logical thing. I took it out and put it in the storehouse where it stayed for 8 or 9 months, and I declared it dead. And I already had some DeWalt stuff, so I went and bought a DeWalt electric battery-powered hedge trimmer, which I like a lot, not as much as I like these gasoline ones. So after sitting in the storehouse for 8 or 9 months, I got it back out, and I got to looking on eBay to see if I could find a short block or a long block or what parts that I might be able to find. This coil here is kind of an oddball coil, and I couldn't find it anywhere other than someplace like Parts Tree or E-Replacement Parts where it's $169. No, I ain't doing $169. So I'm looking on eBay trying to find a coil that's attached to a long block or a short block, and I'll show you what I came up with. And while we're up close here, I'll show you how I finally got this flywheel off. I took the entire engine there, chucked it in this vise right here, tightened it up, chucked it up on the flywheel, and then I took my brass persuader over there and I knocked the fire out of it about 3 times, and finally the flywheel popped off. So I don't have any reason now to test it for anything because I've gotten replacement parts, and I'll show you what I found. On eBay, I found a fella in Virginia that had the carcass of an Echo HC 1500. It had the engine and the flywheel and the magneto attached, gas tank with carburetor attached. Most of his plastics were cracked, which it showed clearly on the eBay website, but I didn't need his plastics. I had good plastics on mine. So what I needed was a short block or long block, whatever you want to call it, that had a coil and the matching flywheel. Now you can't just switch out these coils and flywheels. They are matched sets. So if you can't find the exact coil you need, you got to find a coil and a flywheel. So he had this carcass, and he wanted more money than I wanted to pay, but I sent him a message and told him what I would pay for it, and he counter offered. I accepted his counter offer, and the advertised price was higher than what we had agreed on, and he said, you go ahead and buy it, and as soon as I get the notification, I will refund you enough money to where you'll end up paying the exact amount that we agreed on. I took a chance and did that. and he refunded the money immediately and shipped his carcass to me the same day. So that part of the deal was pretty satisfactory. So I get the carcass in, I mount it up, and what he had was an original HC 1500. What I had here on this unit was a second or third generation HC 1500 Type 2E. That's a much later model than this. But from what I could see on the internet, it looked like it was going to work okay. And so I took his engine here, and it had this adapter on the bottom of it, and it would not work on this lower saw blade unit that I had. But the adapter came off very readily, and the engine fit right on once I got rid of that adapter. So I mounted the engine up, got it all squared away, took a little doing to get the carburetor all squared away. So what I have here is my gas tank, my plastics, my second carburetor, my air cleaner housing here, and my lower unit and saw blade. So basically what I have now is an HC 1500 Type 2E, although the engine just says HC 1500, but it's all been retrofitted to make it an HC, make it the Type 2E. And I got it all together and got it started. Didn't run worth a hoot, but I tuned on it, fooled with it, and got it to run better. I actually used it a little bit, but in my stash of Echo parts, I had a brand new HC 1500 carburetor that I guess I had ordered and just never did use it after the thing died. So I put the brand new carburetor on it, fooled with it a little bit, and this thing has been running. Now I'm going to take it here and set it down on the workmate, unrehearsed, and we'll see whether it's going to run or act a fool. Now, doing these things unrehearsed can make you look like an idiot, but this is unrehearsed, and we'll see what we got. Ignition switch on, choke on, prime good, and here goes nothing. That sounded good. Ooh, yes. His engine smokes a little bit, but starting up ice cold with a couple of 3 pulls, that's hard to complain about. And for the price of 50 bucks or whatever it was, my hedge clipper is back in full operation. So thanks for watching. I hope this video helps somebody.